And so tell me about you, when you had the claim occur and all the solvents burned and such, what pollutants had to be cleaned up?
The problem that we had with the fire is, the fire department's response to a fire is water. They dumped over 500,000 gallons of water on the fire to control the heat and ultimately extinguish the fire. Our containment area isn't designed for that type of volume, so we had water that ran out into the street, into the storm drain, and ultimately into the river where it was contained in a weir down there that the city had built.
And the river is the Salt River, which there's never any water in the Salt River.
Right,
so
right. So the contamination came from the solvents, the oils, the oily water that was stored on site and released while the fire was being fought by the fire department. Because all of those hydrocarbons, gasoline, diesel, oil, is all lighter than water. It floated to the top and ran out into the street with the water, and the water carried it to these different locations.
So actual on-premises pollution, there was no...
Well, the water flowed across our property to get to the driveway to get to the storm drain. So we had contaminated soil that we dealt with. We had sorbents that we brought in and burned up the area so that most of that product would be kept here. So we had several dumpsters full of contaminated soil and sorbents that were hauled off of the facility as a result of the fire.
Inspections done, green light, 100% cleanup?
And inspections done. We finalized the cleanup from ADEQ. Cary Environmental responded very quickly, got everything taken care of, provided all of the analytical for soil, water, fuel, everything that could or was contaminated. That's all been verified clean by ADEQ here locally, overseen by the EPA. So the cleanup went very well and went very quickly. The report is a very detailed report as far as how much product was taken off-site and what contamination we had, including going down far enough that we've identified that we got down to clean soil and replaced everything on top of that with the recycled asphalt.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's critical that an underwriter would understand when we talk about the Salt River, it actually is a great place to have it flow to because there's no water there.
right,
It's a great cleanup facility because it's accessible for any vehicles and easy access in and out, easy to clean up. It's not a running river where water can now transfer and kill animals and
right,
something.
right. None of the waste was moved downstream or down the river on water that was in the river because there is no water in the river.
Yeah.
So.
Unlike most of the rest of the United States, we
Yeah.
don't have water in our rivers here in Arizona. Tell me about, you've been doing business here for how long?
25 years. February of 2016 will be 25 years.
First incident, really?
First incident. This is the first time we've ever had to call the fire department. First time we've ever had an emergency response team.
Obviously a big one, the first one.
Yeah. It was a big incident. We had everything. We had everyone in place. Everyone responded properly. Didn't have any employees injured because our emergency response plan was executed right. Fire department did a great job. No firemen were injured.
I remember listening to the fire, I call him the fire chief, maybe he was someone else, but who actually said as things could go, it went as well as they could ever imagine because of the preparation you guys had made in years of working with the fire department, that they knew the facility and everything was...
Again, our emergency response plan was handled very well. Employees did everything they could, almost had the fire knocked down, but because because we couldn't get that fuel source stopped.
Just kept feeding it.
Yeah, it just continued to feed fuel to the fire.
So we've got clean facilities, clean ground, clean dirt, no question. New structure, meaning the layout is going to be totally redesigned because it's all barren basically out there.
Right. Everything was gone. The distillation system has been completely redesigned. The heat source has been moved away from the distillation system. Everything, the storage tanks, we had an engineering firm come out and inspect the storage tanks to make sure that there wasn't any damage or fatigue created to the metal storage tanks. The containment areas were examined by the same engineering group. Everything held well. It was overwhelmed by the volume of water that was put on the fire, and that's why.
And you really never had any significant spill here at all. It doesn't mean you haven't spilled a little bit, a drum or something tip over, but you guys have always maintained this, and that's why the fire department, if I remember right, in ADEQ, has always worked very hands-on with you guys because you've been very responsive to everything they do.
Yes.
Anything else you would tell an underwriter that would give them a feeling that this isn't going to happen again? Because that's what the underwriter needs to know.
What's going to keep this specifically from happening again is the separation that we've created on the burner, and the fire suppression that we'll put over that. I mean, the burner is going to fit in a firewall area that's 10 feet wide by 15 feet long. So we'll have fire suppression over that. It'll have a foam injection system. So if there is anything that happens like this again, it's going to be contained to that area. Our service record with ADEQ has been exceptional. Our service record with the fire department has been very strong. We've had fire captains from the firehouses that responded to the fire over the past years. They'll bring their new fire recruits in. Whenever they get one or two, they'll bring them in. They'll become familiar with the facility, talk about what they will do if responding to a fire just like they did. Talk about the hazards that might be here, what to look for, what to be careful of. I'd like to think that we've got this thing nailed down. Any other catastrophe is going to be of a different nature. A plane's going to fall out of the sky and land on our building.
You hope not, of course. But tell me about the distiller. It's not like it's uncommon. Anybody in this industry has them. So it's very, just happened to be truly one in a bazillion chance that what occurred. But now we're going to really change that. So even if that occurred, it can occur again.
The distillation system that we have, people typically don't understand distillation. Solvents have a lot of the same properties as water. When you heat water at 212 degrees, it changes from a liquid to a vapor, changes to steam. The solvents that we distill do the same thing, and that's why distillation works. We heat the solvent, it changes to a vapor. We collect the vapor, and we cool it back down and condense it back into a liquid. When we do that, all of the contaminants have been left behind. So the oil and the dirt and the grease is all left behind, and the result is a clean solvent. What concerns people is, well, we're heating a flammable liquid, and that's justifiable. But there's people that heat flammable liquids all the time. Every refinery, refineries operate at temperatures of 850 degrees, and we operate at temperatures of 380 degrees. So our little solvent distillation system is a very low temperature.
Yeah. So it wasn't the solvent that was the problem. It was diesel fuel that got
spilled at the heater. No. Yeah. And the heater is a brand new state-of-the-art heat tech unit.
The one you're going to build.
Yes. and it's actually used at most asphalt facilities. An asphalt plant has to heat their emulsion when they add it to the aggregate to make asphalt, and so it's a very commonly used heater. It's used throughout the United States in manufacturing and processing asphalt. So
now the largest quantity of liquid you have here is oil.
is used oil.
Used oil. And used oil, tell me about it and the temperature. It really is a relatively
Stable.
not considered hazardous, flammable, right?
No. If you had an open container of gasoline and you lit a match and you threw a match in it, the vapors in the top of the gasoline would ignite, which would create more heat, which would cause the gasoline to heat up and release more vapors. So you have heat creating fire and fire creating heat. Diesel fuel is a different animal from gasoline. If you had a container of diesel fuel and you had a match and you threw it in, the match would be snuffed out. It takes much more to ignite diesel fuel than it does gasoline. And the same relation is there between motor oil and diesel fuel. You probably have to generate temperatures in excess of 280 to 300 degrees to ignite diesel fuel, but you have to generate temperatures in excess of 550 or 600 degrees to ignite motor oil. So motor oil is really a very stable.
Not considered flammable.
No.
And that's why the oil in those tanks did not
burn.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else that I sent you on the list that we want to chat about? That you think might be pertinent?
The other thing that will provide you is our procedures.
Okay.
We've got spill control and containment procedures that identifies if we have a problem, this is how we're going to respond to it. In addition to that, we have our standard operating procedures that identify when a load of oil comes in, this is how we handle it. This is the procedure that we go through to determine that it's good and it's not contaminated with PCBs or flammable solvents or any of that type of stuff. So our standard operating procedures is really what keeps the operation safe and operating smoothly when in fact we do deal with when we do deal with flammable material and combustible materials. So those procedures are really what create the safety net that we operate within.
Do you conduct drills in a fashion, remember grade school we would have fire drills, this is what you do in case?
We don't have drills as in actually sounding the alarm and marching everybody out the front door.
Makes sense.
But we do have safety meetings in that we identify this is what the alarm sounds like. When this happens, this is our meeting place. Every reasonable attempt should be made to first of all, if it's a release or a spill, it's stopped. If it's a fire, we do whatever we can to address the fire without harm or danger, coming to any one of the employees. So we do have safety meetings. Have safety meetings with our drivers so that they understand out in the field how to handle these situations as well.
Good. All right. I think we've got a bunch of information and we'll get that off to the company. Thanks, Dave.